Hello. This is another episode of Taboo Tuesday. This week we are talking about zero waste living and low waste living. I'm here with my friend Claire, who also went to the University of Iowa. Hi, Claire. Would you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes. Hello. Well, my name is Claire, obviously. I'm currently a watershed planning coordinator. So I work with counties to revamp their conservation plans in their districts. And to go on a little bit of history about how I got involved in like zero waste or low waste living, kind of all started when I was 12 and dressed up as a recycling bin for Halloween. And so from that point on, I think it was just like, that was the defining point in my life where I'm like, yes, this is what I'm interested in. Like protecting the planet and saving the planet is what I want to do. So that's kind of like how I got into this. And then I proceeded to become more interested in zero waste living, now more low waste living as I've gotten older and gone to college, seen the world, all that good stuff. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most entertaining stories I think that you told me about, like had the first time that you knew like you wanted to like make your living also help the planet. Like I'm just picturing little Claire walking around as a recycling bin.
Yes. Like truly, when I was told you about this before too, I honestly, it was just like one day, I think in a club or something, I was like, why am I like this? And then I was just like, oh wait, I literally dressed up as a recycling bin for Halloween in 6th grade. I was like, that was the defining point in my life, and that is why I'm like this. In the best way possible, obviously.
Yeah,
but
it
was definitely an interesting costume, even though I was like slightly embarrassed at the time to wear it because it was like 12-year-old Claire in like early 2000s wearing a recycling bin when everyone was like a cheerleader or a witch or whatever. So
yeah, like more stereotypical. That makes me think of like a good group costume. If you have 3 people, it could be recycling, trash, and compost. But then of course it's like who wants to be trash, but
yes.
Anyways, we're getting off topic here. So we had a super long conversation about zero waste and low waste lifestyles and all the stereotypes, like I've seen people on YouTube who are like, here's my zero waste lifestyle and here's the 50 things that you have to buy to be zero waste, which is super counterintuitive. You don't have to buy anything to start changing your habits. Mm-hmm. And we have probably a 1 page of different things we could talk about, but we narrowed it down because we only got 15 minutes here. And we wanted to talk about access to information and then also privilege because we've both gone to college. That was a privilege. We've both had a lot of privilege in our lives. And other people have other types of privilege that we do and don't have. So that's really, money, time, resources, energy, mental health, community, all sorts of things. So when we think about information, again, we're both really lucky. We got to go to college. We have been generally aware of these things for a large portion of our lives, but that's not a privilege for everybody either. So what type of information did you start learning about when you decided maybe I want to start creating less waste in my life?
Yeah. Well, it all started, like I said, with the recycling bin, and at that time I didn't really use internet. So for like me to just have access to anything, I essentially like would take my family's like plastic water bottles, because that's where I started, was plastic water bottles, recycling those, and taking those to like school or the YMCA and like slyly putting it in there. So my information, yeah, I was really embarrassed.
Recycling as a kid.
Yeah, that's essentially what I was like. I was like looking around and like throwing it in there. I'm not even kidding. That's what I did. And so for me, information at that time, because I did grow up in the country where we didn't have access to this. And I also grew up in a town and in a time period where recycling and all that stuff, it was like known, but it wasn't like the hot topic like it is now. Mm-hmm. So for me, information at the time was just surrounding, like being aware of my surroundings and watching that. But then when I started transitioning into zero waste stuff, initially, which was like 5 years ago, maybe, it's been a bit, it's been a while. I think I just found, I think it was like the Instagram account Save the Mermaids or something. And they're have you heard of them?
I don't think so, no.
They're awesome. I won a water bottle from them.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Cool. But that's where I started getting my information at that point in time. Because like from being like at the age of 12 to like 5 years ago when I was a freshman in college or something, I didn't really progress very much in my zero waste journey. It was more of like, I just became more conscious. Like it was just a continuous like development of consciousness around consumption and things like that. So Instagram was like the main source of information for me initially. And then I started doing more research. I've gotten some awesome books, like Drawdown was a good one that I've read. What was the other one? Plastic Oceans was another one I've read. I haven't done a whole lot of nonfiction reading. I need to do more of that.
I feel the same. Are there any other Instagram accounts that come to mind? I know for my zero waste lifestyle, I think I was a senior in college when I don't remember exactly what peaked it. It might have been Net Impact, it might have been something else. But I watched Lauren Singer's TED Talk.
Yeah.
And she kind of went to like the way extreme. She in 4 years only filled a mason jar's worth of trash. Highly recommend her TED Talk. And then that is for me what finally started. The first step is just like, okay, what trash do I produce? I realized for myself it was a lot of things related to my bathroom habits, like showering and cleansing and all that, and then also my food and kitchen habits. So that's where I started. Are there any other like big resources or websites that you would recommend if somebody came to you and they were like, how do I create less waste?
Yeah, I think actually one of the other initial accounts I found, and she has a ton of resources, is Thea Johnson. I think it's like Zero Waste Home might be her account. I can't remember. But she's like the mother of this. Like she's been doing this for such a long time, even longer than Lauren Singer, I think. Mm-hmm. But she was another big inspiration to me at the beginning, and I like would scroll through her website. So that was another website. But in conjunction with that, honestly, I just kind of like Google things or just like look things up anyways. And kind of as we talked about, or as you mentioned earlier, like regarding like the community in which I live in, I usually just research things like regarding like recycling or like compost or anything like that, like specific to my area. So I use a lot of like city websites and like county websites to get that information. But for overall zero waste stuff, it's just, I think if you even just like search the hashtag zero waste on like anything, you'll find like a ton of cool accounts. So.
Yeah, and I think also like I know that I went pretty extreme pretty quickly, and I don't think that was helpful to me. Because I was like, I need to buy my bamboo toothbrush, I have to buy my bamboo comb, I'm gonna like get rid of all my nail polish and all my, all that yada yada. And I always recommend people, like, you don't have to do it all at once, right? So like maybe you're already using reusable bags, maybe you're already like, turning off the lights in your house and doing what you can. And then maybe like once a month or once a week, try to add something else. And also I think another thing is that people think they have to go out and buy all this stuff, and you might have to buy some things here and there. We're humans, we're in a capitalist economy, but I think also it's like what I kind of did initially is what I don't recommend is like, okay, I'm gonna go buy all these things on Amazon and then swap out everything and then feel like I did a good job. Doing it gradually is probably going to allow yourself to learn and then make more educated decisions as you're slowly transitioning to creating less waste in your life.
Yeah.
And I think one fun fact is that most Americans produce 4.4 pounds of trash every single day, which is like pretty wild.
It is insane. And that's actually I actually started my zero waste transition like pretty slowly actually, because I'm like kind of cheap. So not cheap as in the sense I don't want to buy things, but I'll buy like really nice things, and then it kind of like backfires because then I have to buy like everything I need at once, and then I'm like but I like slowly have over the past few years just really started doing more in like terms of bathroom stuff. I just had a post about it the other day, and a lot of my stuff I even have in my bathroom now, it's not like zero waste because I've kind of transitioned out of zero waste in college because I just couldn't afford to do that, and I didn't have access to a lot of those like resources at the time. So I was like, I'm going to try my best in the areas I can and reduce waste in the ways I can. But I've started to just invest in products specifically for the bathroom. While they may not be zero waste, they're products that from brands I really like. They're like not tested on animals. They're good for my skin. It's all that type of stuff. So that's kind of where I've started, I don't know, transitioning into in my life. So I think it's been helpful.
And come to think of it, you have an Instagram account about your low waste lifestyle and about sustainability, right?
Yes. Claire Goes Granola.
Yeah, Claire Goes Granola. I think that's hilarious handle. Okay, so let's transition to talking about privilege. We have about 5 minutes left here. This always flies by.
Oh wow! Yeah, it has. Okay.
Yeah, I know. So the bullet points we have under privilege, which I know we're not going to get to all of them. Money is a privilege. Time is a privilege. Having time to do this, I'm not a mother who needs to be caring for my 1-year-old child every day. Not saying that a mother who's doing that can't also work on this. It's totally possible. But, I have a little bit more free time, which is helpful. Resources, not everybody has internet. Not everybody has, some people are in food deserts. Having energy is a huge privilege. Having mental health and having health in general, I'm getting a little out of hand.
You're good. I was going to say.
But then also, I think one big thing that you said to me is having the community resources is a huge privilege.
It is. And that's something I get questions a lot about on my Instagram. People will message me and ask, how can I do this if I talk about compost or if I talk about some product or bulk bins? I'm like, I don't know, because I'm not in your community. You'd have to research it on your own. And that's really something I've tried to start doing the past few years, is just, where can I access these things in my community? Because I'm fortunate enough to have a car to get to places. Again, the car is another privilege. And sometimes people can't pursue this lifestyle because if you're taking all your recycling, I can carry a lot on my bike, but if you have too much stuff, you're not going to go anywhere. So, you could do it in small trips as well. There's also public transportation in areas where you can get to places, but a lot of it is just based upon access and your ability to get there, and then whether or not your community has these resources. Because like I said from the beginning, I grew up in the country and I did not have access to these resources, and I would take my stuff to a place that did. And then I eventually learned that my community had a recycling center, even though it's quite small and doesn't take everything. But again, it's just trying to figure out where in your community you can access these things, and if you have the ability to means to. And if you don't, it's fine. You can take your stuff to the Y like I did and slyly throw it in the recycling bin there. But I truly think it's just small actions that will lead to the biggest change anyways.
And I think even if you have a brain and a body, even talking about this stuff with your friends can be super helpful. Because for all you know, maybe one of your friends is oh yeah, I also want to learn about recycling. And then having that community to learn with another person and to have somebody check in and be hey, did you recycle today? Or hey, I see you have a plastic bottle, make sure you recycle that. Having that community of encouragement is really, really helpful, because then you can process it verbally and you can, find that support. And another thing, if you do, again, not everybody lives in a place like DC, like I live in, but I know I've actually connected with some other bloggers in DC who are zero waste or low waste advocates. Christy is one of them. I think I'll put her handle here. But if you can find other people, even through meetups, maybe virtual meetups with COVID. But if you can connect with other people in your community who are also seeking out having a lifestyle with low waste or even exploring these topics, that can be really, really beneficial, sometimes even more beneficial than a Google search.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think it also is individual, it's based upon the individual, because I'm just inherently a very self-motivated person. And so when it came to doing stuff, obviously I would go out of my way to take stuff to a place, even though I felt uncomfortable throwing my recycling in there. I just did it because I was yes, this is what I want to do. But I know some people don't feel comfortable doing that, and that's fine. So I do think having that support from friends or family, or just a person like on your street, they're like that you see recycling, just like having that, I think would be a benefit to encourage like yourself or keep you accountable, and pursuing like a more sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I do want to end with, I also have the privilege of having a dad who is a retired sustainability professor. So again, huge privilege. He's a smart dude. I think one thing that he always reminded me is people go back and forth with this, right? Like, I'm only one individual, you're only one individual. We can only make so much change by, like, you know, me recycling one bottle isn't going to change the world or save the world. I'm still going to do it because it's still helping at some level.
Yeah.
But I think another thing to remember is, like, give yourself some slack, right? Like, if you're beating yourself up about this, if you're not being compassionate to yourself as you're trying to change, it's not going to be as easy, it's not going to be as fun. And one of the things that my dad would kind of say is, because he was teaching sustainability, like there's different levels you can take this to, right? Like, not everybody's going to go to school to study watershed management and dedicate their lives to this. That's okay. But, you know, do what's realistic for you. And, you know, don't do it if it's going to be like horribly painful.
Yeah, exactly.
We want you to be happy people. Any last words from you, Claire?
Yeah, no, I just think you hit the nail on the head, and that's something I like to think about. I definitely, as I've like transitioned to low waste living, had to like learn how to give myself a break and not be so like angry at myself if I couldn't do something, because I was like, realistically, I can't afford to do this and I don't have the resources to do it. So I'm like, just put my energy where I can and like not worry about the rest, and just try to be a good like role model for other people. So
yeah, just like stay curious, stay creative, keep on talking about it. And that is a wrap. Thank you so much for listening on the other side of the screen. We'll be back again next Tuesday for another episode. Don't know the topic yet. Let me know if you have any topic ideas. Let me know if you would like to be a co-host yourself. And thank you so much for watching.